Okay, so we're about to start the legs, and here is the one done with 2 strands held together, 2 strands of worsted weight, and this is the one that we're working on with the 1 strand. You can see the big difference in size. And what I've done for this part of this tutorial, to save myself some filming, this part of the foot, so you start with the yarn color that you want for the foot. We're going to be changing colors in a few rows here. So start with the color you want for the foot, and if you need help with rows 1 through 4, then back this video up to where we've done the body. It is exactly the same, the first 4 rows, as the body. Once you're finished row 4, you'll have 24 stitches. Then rows 5 through 7 is 1 single crochet in each one of those 24 stitches for 3 rows. So that's where I'm at here. I just finished row 7, and this is the one with the 2 strands. Okay, so we're going to start making this part of the foot. It's going to get sucked in words. So what we want to do is, when we're crocheting here, we want to make sure that we tighten up our stitches as we go along. If you don't tighten up your stitches and you crochet pretty loose, you're going to end up seeing stuffing through the stitches. So even with the 2 strands, you want to make sure that you tighten up your stitches as you go along. Okay, so we're going to continue on here. Row 8 is crochet 2 stitches together 5 times, and then 1 single crochet in the last 14 stitches. So crochet 2 together 5 times. So you can see how it just pulled that part of the foot in. And now 1 single crochet in the next 14 stitches. Okay, so we're all finished row 8, and now we have 19 stitches around. This is what it looks like with the 1 strand, and here's with the 2 strands. And you can see I've tightened up my stitches around here, so there's not going to be much of a gap when we're all done our foot and ready to stuff it. Okay, so for rows 9 is going to be 1 single crochet in each one of those 19 stitches for 1 row. So again, make sure you tighten up the stitches, and if you have a hard time, just flatten out your piece and crochet that way. You can see I just kind of raised this edge up here so I can get through. Now flatten it again as I round the corner here. I'm just putting 1 single crochet in each one of those 19 stitches. Okay, so we're all finished row 9. Row 10 is we're going to crochet 2 together 4 times, and then put 1 single crochet in the last 11 stitches of the row. So again, crochet fairly tight as you can as you go around here. So I'm just flattening up my piece so I'm not fighting the shape as I go. Okay, so I'll finish row 10, and now we have 15 stitches around. Row 11 is going to be 1 single crochet in each one of those 15 stitches for 1 row. So I'll continue on with the pattern. Okay, so we're all finished row 11. Row 12, this is where we're going to switch colors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch colors for both of them. So if you're following along with 2 strands, you won't feel lost. So put 1 single crochet in the next 14 stitches, and then meet me back here just when we're about to change those colors. Okay, so I just put my 14th stitch in, and now I'm about to change colors. I can take out my marker, and I'm going to go into that stitch, grab my yarn, and I'm going to leave those 2 loops on my hook. And I'm going to hold my working yarn back here, and I'm going to bring in my color change. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to lay it back there with my working yarn, and I'm going to hold both strands with my middle finger there. Now I'm going to hold my new color just as I would with my working yarn, and now I'm going to pull the new color through those 2 loops of the old color. And then the next stitch, I'm going to do a slip stitch. So you go in, grab your yarn, and instead of yarning over, pull that first loop through the second loop. And that is a slip stitch. Now you can continue on, put 1 single crochet in the next 14 stitches. Okay, so I just finished row 13, and I just put in my 14th single crochet. So I'm just going to set that aside, I'm going to switch colors with this guy here. So I'm going to pull out my marker, and I'm going to go into that next stitch and grab my yarn, and I'm going to leave those loops on my hook, and I'm going to hold my working yarn back here. And it's the exact same as we just did with the one strand. So I'm going to bring in my color changes, so that's 2 strands of yarn. In the same way, I'm just going to hold it back there with my working yarn. Now I'm going to hold my new colors just as I was holding my working yarn, and I'm going to pull those new colors through the old colors. Now I'm going to go into the next stitch and I'm going to slip stitch. So go in and grab your yarn, and instead of yarning over, pull those first loops through the second loops. And I'm saying loops because we're working with 2 strands. And that was my slip stitch. And now I'm going to go 1 single crochet in the next 14 stitches. Okay, so I finished my 14th stitch there. And you can cut free from your old color. So just make sure you're breaking free from the color you're no longer using, and leave a bit of a tail. What we're going to do is we're going to put 1 more row in of single crochets, then we're going to stop and knot off these 2 color change tails. So put in our marker, and put 1 single crochet into the next 15 stitches. And you're just going to take those 2 tails and we're going to knot them off. You can cut them up a bit shorter and then hide them inside the foot. Okay, so those color changes are knotted off, and now you can just lightly stuff the foot. You don't want to overstuff this part because then it'll just look like a round ball and not like a foot, and you want a little bit of shape to it. And just lightly stuff it. And there we go. Okay, so now we're ready to continue on. We're going to put 1 single crochet in each one of those 15 stitches for 24 more rows. As you go along, remember to stop and stuff the leg every 5 rows or so. I've done it both ways, and it's easier to stuff the leg as you go along, and you won't have to use the stuffing stick at the end, and you don't have to shape the leg as much at the end as well. So we just finished row 38 of the leg, and here you can finish off like I did on my Darcy doll, and you'll be sewing this round part right to the bottom of the body, like so. So you just be placing it on top and then sewing around it, and you'll be maintaining that round shape. I did it that way for Darcy because I wanted him to stand up a little easier. So when I stood him up for photos, his leg didn't have a bend in it. But if you want the monkey to be able to sit easier, then we're going to create this flat piece. So if you want the round, straight leg, finish off here. If not, we're going to continue on to row 41. And here we're just going to single crochet to about the middle of the leg. So when I fold it, when I pinch it, it's going to be right in the middle. So that's good. So now chain 1 and pinch the top of the leg together. And now we're going to go right through both sides of the leg. And we're just going to single crochet right through both sides across the top edge of the leg. 8. So there we've closed the top. Now we're going to chain 1. That was row 39. And turn. This is row 40. And put 1 single crochet across those stitches you just put in. Chain 1 and turn, and this is the last row. Put a single crochet across the last stitches you just put in. Okay, so now you can finish off. Remember to leave a long tail for sewing, because you're going to use this tail for sewing the leg to the body. So just pull that tail through that loop, and you're done. Okay, so for the one with the 2 strands, this big leg here, where I stopped my last stitch, I'm kind of would be off center, so I'm going to put in a couple crochets here, to bring my last stitch to the middle of the leg. So when I pinch it off, I will have the middle. That looks about right. So chain 1, and the same thing. Just go right across and right through both sides of the leg. Okay, so now we're going to finish off. For this one, you can cut one strand a little shorter than the other, and then leave one long strand for sewing. Bring both of those tails through the loops. So now you can take this shorter tail and just weave it across the top to get rid of it. So I'm just going in and out. There, now you can cut it free. So you'll just be using one strand for sewing.